In this video, I'm going to be talking about the announcement that Eisenhorn will have its own television show. Today, it was announced that there will be a television show based on Inquisitor Eisenhorn, a character created by Dan Abnett in a series of Black Library novels. And this will be produced by Big Light Productions. And some of you might know that there have been other similar projects in the works, but probably not quite to this level or scale. Also, this is a television series, which is a completely different medium from every other previous project of this type. Dan Abnett has had an immeasurable influence on 40k lore, and much of the language now used to describe the day-to-day objects in the 41st millennium are from his creative head. Dan has also contributed significantly to substantive projects outside Games Workshop, and he's been frequently selected for these types of projects. So I read through this series of novels about Eisenhorn when they were first published, and they honestly remain among my favorite of all 40k novels. There's just something very relatable about kind of personal and gritty, about kind of the dark stories, and they take place over a series of years, and the character transitions dramatically along that journey from being very much a Puritan to an extremist. And apart from the Inquisitor himself, I've always liked kind of the retinue of unique, eclectic characters that you find in Inquisitor warbands. There's a lot of depth, and if you wanted to continue into the series Eisenhorn's successor Ravenor, that would be really interesting. But at this time, we don't quite know what the intended scope. So it's also important to stress that this is in the pre-production, in development stage. So there is a long way to go, and it'll be years before it's available to viewers. I know some of you might be a little skeptical about this project, and there's always the potential for this to be a complete disaster, frankly. So to date, fan projects have had a little bit more success, and Dan was tapped to write the screenplay for the Ultramarines movie. I have here kind of a promotional card from that movie that was passed out at the 2010 Baltimore Games Day, and it's signed by Dan Abnett. So I thought that the screenplay for Ultramarines was pretty good, and the story was half decent, but views really ranged on the quality of animation. Ultramarines was made by Codex Pictures. It was a relatively new company, and it didn't last long. So in contrast, this will be a live action, which really could be good or bad, and Big Light Productions has already had some successes under its belt. So I'm a little wary, but I'm always optimistic, and I want this to be a big success. I've always thought that television and movies were an untapped potential for Games Workshop, if only they could truly get the ball going. And this is a great setting to exploit. If you wanted a show about a different character, race, or game, it's still worthwhile to support this project, because if it is a success, there is a greater potential that other projects could be launched that explore those areas of the hobby. A lot of my viewers really enjoy Age of Sigmar, but these types of projects have a tendency to build upon another, if they're successful. If the Ultramarines had been a big hit, you could almost bet that others like it would have been made, and that other companies would have looked for contracts with Games Workshop. So when Games Workshop achieves success in a new medium, it's really good for all players, no matter what game you enjoy. So I'm sure many of you have already read through the community article. So instead, I'm going to read just a little bit about Big Light Productions and their press release for this announcement. So Big Light was established by Frank Spotsnitz in 2013, and soon becoming one of the fastest growing production companies in Europe, with series including Amazon's Emmy award-winning The Man in High Castle, now in its 4th season, as well as Medici the Magnificent and Medici Masters of Florence for Raw and Netflix, Ransom for CBS and Global, and The Indian Detective for CTV and Netflix. So Games Workshop, this is from their side of things, from Big Light Productions. Games Workshop and Big Light Productions jointly announced today development of Eisenhorn, a live-action science fiction and fantasy television series Frank Spotnitz, the man in High Castle, X-Files, will also act as showrunner and executive producer of the series, which will be based on the widely popular Warhammer 40,000 games, miniatures, and novels. This genre-blending series is set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, where mankind teeters on the brink of annihilation. While humanity's armies wage unending war across 1 million battlefields, in the darkness a secret conflict rages, fought by the agents of the Imperial Inquisition. Drawn from sci-fi, fantasy, and crime genres, Eisenhorn will see Inquisitor Gregor Eisenhorn and his band of investigators fight to thwart the monstrous schemes of aliens, heretics, demons, before mankind's doom is sealed. And then they describe Warhammer 40,000. It's a worldwide phenomenon, with miniatures, tabletop games, video games, and novels sold online, and in more than 5,000 retail locations around the globe. Warhammer 40,000 has a passionately devoted fanbase who revel in the setting's intricate lore and engaging narrative, visiting Games Workshop's website more than 100 million times, and racking up more than 50 million views of Warhammer TV video content this year alone. Games Workshop is the company behind the globally recognized Warhammer 40,000 brand, and a household name within geek culture, while Big Light Productions is the award-winning international production company whose credits include, again, Amazon's The Man in High Castle, Medici on Netflix, and Ransom on CBS. So the Eisenhorn series is based on the novels written by New York Times best-selling author Dan Abnett, Guardians of the Galaxy, X-Men, Horus Heresy. Originally published in 2001 by Black Library, Games Workshop's publishing imprint, the books have been reprinted in multiple languages and sold over 500,000 copies globally. Big Light Productions creative director Emily Feller, Ordinary Lies, Trust Me, Medici, will also serve as an executive producer on the series. Then there follows 3 statements. First by Frank Spotnitz, and the third by Dan Abnett. These were both featured on the community article, while the second by Andrew Smiley was not. So, Frank Spotnitz, series showrunner and Big Light Productions, said this: "We're delighted to collaborate with Games Workshop to develop the beloved visionary world of Warhammer 40,000 into a TV series. Warhammer 40,000 is steeped in rich and complex lore, with a myriad of traditions and stories that have been accumulated over time in this thrilling and complex world, making it one of the most exciting properties to adapt for television audiences and the franchise's loyal global fan base. There's nothing else like it on television, and we're incredibly excited to tap into our own experience creating imaginative, complex, and compelling worlds to bring the incredible saga to the screen." And then Andrew Smiley, of Games Workshop's global head of marketing and media, said, "We're thrilled to be working with Frank and his big team at Big Light. Warhammer 40,000 has a massive global fan base. They are a passionate community of Warhammer hobbyists who love to engage with our characters, stories, and games. I'm truly delighted we are able to develop a show that will reward their loyalty. Inquisitor Eisenhorn represents one of the best-loved characters within our worlds, and we're excited to share his exploits and adventures of audiences new and old. Frank and his outstanding team at Big Light have done amazing things with other properties, bringing complex worlds to the screen, and we can't wait to see what our partnership produces in the grim darkness of Warhammer 40,000. So author Dan Abnett said, "Gregor Eisenhorn is a relentless force in the dark future of the Warhammer universe, a destroyer of demons and a purger of heretics, implacable, powerful, and dedicated. But the appeal to me from the moment I started writing him was his complexity. He is not the simple, ruthless hero he appears to be. His battle with the warp leads him into dark places and forces him to question his duty, his understanding of the Imperium, and his own identity. With Eisenhorn, you're not just the adventures. It's not just the adventures, and they are certainly vivid. It's the journey he takes to the very limits of what he said, what it means to be loyal." So there you have it. There's a lot to really cover. I hope you're excited about this, as I am, about this announcement. Let's hope they do a good job, and I'll be keeping my eye on how this develops over time. Thanks for watching. Bye.